want to start with a ritual. Today's topic is ritual. So I want to invite everybody, put your hands over your heart. And I'm going to explain what we do before we do it, so you don't just have to start breathing and doing weird things. We're going to take a breath in. And as we're breathing in, I want you to imagine that you are perfuming that air with love. Then we're going to open up our hands and exhale. So let's do that together. Hands over your heart. Inhale, perfuming it with love. Hands out, exhale. Sweet. Thank you so much. All right, come with me. The Satira Mawe people, an indigenous people of the Amazon in Brazil, they have a well-known rite of passage. On a boy's journey to becoming a warrior, he must go through a ritual where he puts his hands into woven gloves full of what are called bullet ants. They're called bullet ants because they have a sting that is considered the most painful sting in the insect world. And he must keep his hands in these gloves for about 10 minutes while the men grab his arms and dance with him and sing with him and try to distract him from the pain. He must go through this around 20 times on his journey. So come with me to the other side of the spectrum of ritual. You're a millennial. You wake up one day and you're like, I'm getting wrinkles. Your nervous system is a little fried. But luckily, you have found a way to relax. Every night, you put on the same record. Maybe you make a cup of tea. You do a skincare routine. And while that mask is doing its work, you write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And this signals to you that you are ready to sleep, and this allows you to get some rest. So come with me to one more example. You're Michael Jordan. You're about to do what you do best. You're about to play basketball, but not until you've put on your lucky shorts. Michael Jordan famously wore his UNC practice shorts underneath his uniform for every game, and this helped activate his power. So let's look at a definition a little bit of ritual. Ritual is a sequence of activities involving gestures, words, actions, or revered objects. Rituals may be prescribed by the traditions of a community, including a religious community. Rituals are characterized but not defined by formalism, traditionalism, invariance, rule governance, symbolism, and performance. They include not only the worship rites and sacraments of organized religions and cults, but also rites of passage, atonements, and purification rites, oaths of allegiance, dedication ceremonies, coronations, and presidential inaugurations, marriages, funerals, and more. It goes on. Even common actions like handshaking and saying hello may be termed as rituals. So I'm not here to read you things from the internet. I'm here to talk to you about my relationship with ritual. So as Brandy introduced, I'm the founder of Home. Home is a sound bath organization. Every month we host full moon rituals and ceremonies in the form of a sound bath. We've been doing this a little over 2 years. It's a beautiful, wonderful experience. It's my favorite thing that I've gotten to be a part of in my life. And the experience is great. You walk in, you're served kava chai, which if you've ever had kava, it makes you a little tingly. It's nice. It's legal. Obelisk Interactive, who has done artwork here at the McConnell Art Center. Also, shout out to the McConnell Art Center. This place is wonderful, has wonderful programming, and thank you, Creative Mornings, for having me. This is really sweet. So, Obelisk Interactive, they do immersive projection on the ceiling, so as you lay down during the sound bath, you're immersed in a world of the ocean, stars, all sorts of things. And around the corner, we have these, that's me, around the corner, we have these ceremony and ritual stations that people can interact with before we get started. Because we want to meet everybody in a different place. So at front, as you came in, we had one of them. We had this full moon burn box. Oftentimes around the full moon, it is used as a time of setting the intention to release. And the reason that is because the energy of the full moon is, the moon's at its height. I always explain it as like being at the top of a breath. Full moon, release, let go. So we invite people to write down things that they want to set the intention of letting go of in their lives, and that we burn it afterwards, which is super fun. This started with me. I was born a child, and and I just want to preface this. I'm going to talk about my background in religion, and that can be sometimes a a not fun topic to talk about with people because people have different relationships with it. And I just want to invite you very safely, open-hearted, open-minded into this with me and know that from me, it's coming from a deep place of love and just my experience. Yeah. So I was born a child. I was born into a empowered evangelical Christian home. It was more than just evangelical Christianity, the stress is on evangelizing, but with this empowered element, they wanted you to perform miracles, essentially. It was like I was born into a world where the fundamentals of my reality included inherent magic. And I thought that was pretty cool. My parents were leaders in the church, and every week they would have people over, and they would essentially, what it looked like, they would have a ritual. They would all get together and they would sing, and then they would read from the Bible. And then at the end, this is the one that got me, that I fell in love with. They would sit quietly and they would listen. And in this space of listening, they would listen for, characterized as listening for the voice of God. They would get words for each other. And I would sit there as a little boy and just watch these people sit there, and then they would come out and say, I think you're dealing with this. And the amount of times that it was accurate was stunning, and it was beautiful, and it was really wonderful to watch. And that became my ritual. I would go and I would just sit in my room, and it's called meditation. I would meditate. So I would go and I would meditate and I would listen and I would be in this space. And that eventually evolved into walking in nature and being in this dialogue and being in this space of listening. And to me, it's like going to a space where salt water meets fresh water, where the physical and the non-physical kind of clash and collide. They can't necessarily mix, though. We'll get into the complexities of that in dimensions and things. But going to that sweet, sweet space, it's like walking to the edge and just listening for what's on the other side. And that ritual of doing that for me, once I kind of left the church, it began to evolve and expand and started to center around doing it around the full moon, involving sound and setting these intentions of release. And it eventually became home, which is what I'm now doing, which is really sweet. So I want to talk about the power of ritual, various elements of power and ritual. Ritual can be a foundation. You have recurring rituals that take place and they come around. Sometimes they're generational, something like a bar mitzvah, bar mitzvah, something yearly, your birthday, counting down at midnight together as a group on New Year's Eve, or going into your daily routine. Again, going back to our example of the millennial, your skincare routine. So how is this a foundation, right? So looking at it, if you did not have that nightly ritual that signaled to your body, all right, it's time to rest, you would not be able to have that full night's sleep, which would allow you to have a day where you felt well rested. And everything kind of stems from this ritual, from this thing that you can return to, from this order. And what I love is ritual waters the seed of the initial intention. In that moment, because it has to start somewhere. When you first decide, I'm going to start a nightly ritual where I can take care of myself. In that moment, you're choosing, I choose to care for myself in this moment. And then you do the thing that cares for you, but it carries onward. It grows from there. Then you get a good night's sleep, and that is caring for you. Then you have a productive day because you got rest, and that cares for you. It's like watering a garden. The initial, I want to care for myself, eventually permeates everything around you. And that is part of the power of ritual, is eventually it will start to permeate everything when you come back to it. Going to another example. Oh, that's a smoothie. I was going to tell a story about smoothies, but we're not going to do that. It's too long. Ritual is an activator. When Michael Jordan put on those shorts, it activated so many things. It can activate focus, can activate confidence, activate belief, can activate a sense of power or empowerment. Rituals can empower us. There is a common ritual in magic that is called a cord cutting ceremony, where usually when somebody wants to sever intention or sever a connection that they feel with somebody, they will take an object belonging to the person they want to feel cut from and one of their objects, and they will commonly tie them together, and then they will cut that cord, and they can reclaim their sense of power. It can activate change. Ultimately, this leads to a very poetic thing for me, which is ritual is the key that opens the door to a new reality. Going to our first example, the Satira Mawe, when that boy walks up to the door, metaphorically, and on the other side of that door, he is a warrior. He must use the ritual as the key to open that door and step through into this new reality where not just he believes that he is a warrior, but everybody believes that is a warrior. Same thing with a graduation. You look at a graduation, somebody walking across the stage. It's like, okay, when you're on that side of the stage, you haven't graduated yet. You walk across, you grab that diploma, you shake that hand, and you, congratulations, have graduated. And we're all in this collective agreement. So looking at elements of how can you create your own ritual? And something I want to say is it doesn't have to be very serious. It doesn't have to be really complex. Let it be a reflection and representation of you. Let it come from also the most vulnerable and honest you, but also the most confident and powerful you. So setting your intention, what is your intention? Using our cord cutting ritual as an example, the intention is, I want to feel separated. I want to feel disconnected from this. I want to sever this connection and reclaim my power. This also ties into the symbolism, these two objects that represent these two people, and performing a poetic act. So what poetic act can you do? Maybe it's, I want to feel more love for myself. So you got a little stuffed animal and you're just like, I'm just gonna hug it. This is my poetic act. And this, playing into objects down here, this is me and I'm just gonna hold it. And it's very sweet. Like I said, something for the most vulnerable and the most honest you. It's not performative. It is very much you meeting yourself in a active, poetic, powerful space. Repetition. How frequently do you want to do your ritual? Is it something that you do on your birthday, every year on your birthday? Maybe you write yourself a love letter. Maybe it's daily. Maybe it's yearly. Maybe it's once in a lifetime. A mantra. Are you going to have something that you say in your ritual? Whenever I sit down at my altar, I typically will sit down and the first thing I will say is, lift me up to where you are that I may kiss you. Because I want to be in that space, and that helps me drop into my meditation and go to that space of listening. So, is there a mantra that you want to include in your ritual? The next thing is setting. Is it in nature? Is it in front of an altar? Is it in your car? Is it in the walk-in fridge at your job? Like, it can be, that's the fun of it. It can be anywhere. Again, objects, including objects. It can be something that is significant to you. It can be anything. You can make it significant by including it in your ritual. And then that can tie back into the poetic act, that cord cutting ceremony, these objects that represent people. And then sequence. How do you want this to take place? What is the sequence of events? And that's really up to you. It's your own creative experience that gains power by your intention and your attention in it. So I'm going to end by telling a story. Going to that listening space. One of my favorite places in Columbus is Sharon Woods. I love Sharon Woods so much. I don't know. It was the first place I ever ran like a 3.8 mile loop. I threw up, I died, but it was special. There was something about that death that was significant to me. But also it's a space where I've just gone continuously as a setting for my ritual of going to that space of listening and that space of dialogue. And this was a few years ago. I was dog sitting and I was house sitting for somebody. And every day I would walk these dogs on the same route. And I was just in this very liminal space in my life. And I would walk by this house and there were these beautiful blue tiles with this damask pattern around the door. And I've always had because some people have baby fever, I've always had home fever. I want a house. I just walked by this house. I was like, oh my gosh, blue's my favorite color. I was like, those blue tiles are so beautiful. When I have a house someday, when I have a home someday, I want to have blue tiles like that around my door. And it was just, I don't know, I just connected really deeply with it and it spoke to me. So walk the ducks. The next day I go to my place. I go to Sharon Woods and I just go on a walk and I go into this space of listening and into this dialogue. And again, I just want to say, I'm going to, I use the word God in this story. And I used to use the word God referring to the God of the Bible, but now I left that and I looked for so many other words that I wanted to use to describe what I was talking about. And after years and years and years and years, I came back to the word God, but now using it in an incredibly poetic way, referring to me, referring to you, referring to the sand I dig my feet into when I'm at the beach, referring to bumblebees and the chill in my bones in wintertime. That's all God to me. So I use God in this story and just know that that's what I mean. So I go to Sharon Woods. I'm on this walk, and I'm a feeler. I'm walking. I'm just crying. I'm just like, yes. Oh my gosh. I walk out. They have this beautiful prairie. I walk out into this prairie, and I'm just sitting there, and I just start this mantra. And I was like, I'm at home in the presence of God. I am at home in the presence of God. There's this hawk like flying in circles around me. I'm sitting there crying. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, oh my God. Like I'm at home in the presence of God. And I look down on the ground, and in the middle of this field is a key. And the key says home. And it has this very similar blue damask tiled pattern on the key as the house that I had just walked past. And that was such a special, special moment for me. And that is why I continue to go back to that space of listening. Because to me, a key is, ritual is the key to a new reality. So thank you for listening. Again, my name is Jesse. It's been such an honor to be here with you. And yeah, get a ritual in your life. So thank you.